Again, good morning and good evening to all of you, depending upon your time zone. It's a sunny, beautiful morning in South Texas, and it's my day off. That's the most important thing. It's Saturday, almost 11:05, and today we gathered here for a quick chat with experts. All right, so please welcome Dr. Sujan Gogu, Dr. Satish Nandyala, and Dr. Abhishek Rai. They are here not only because of their academic achievements, but also because they are great human beings and doctors and my friends and my mentors. So I feel honored to be called their friend and mentee.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Sujan Gogu. I'm a family sports and pain physician here in South Texas at DHR Health. I'm fortunate to have wonderful colleagues that are here, such as Dr. Vijani, Dr. Nandyala, and Dr. Rai. Um, I serve as faculty on the GME for the family medicine program, so I'm one that's well versed at reviewing applications, and I think part of my inspiration of trying to get the next generation of physicians is several of you guys here are very talented, very intelligent, and just know a lot of medical knowledge, but unfortunately, the application process is a very competitive process, and you really have to be able to articulate what you are about as an individual on paper very efficiently, very eloquently, and very concisely. And unfortunately, year in and year out, when I review these applications, I see very amazing, USMLE scores, great letters of recommendation, but there's several aspects that are missing in their application, and oftentimes it reduces their chances of getting an interview. And subsequently, we see a lot of, international medical graduates, and even now we're starting to see American medical graduates not match or match into the specialty that they really put their blood, sweat, and tears into. And so I'm hopeful that, this 1 hour Zoom meeting can really just kind of help you guys really kind of get a conceptual idea of what the personal statement is all about, and what it takes to really write a good one.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Rai. I am an adult psychiatrist. I am Dr. Vijani was saying it's sunny out there. I am in sunny California, but it's kind of gloomy here. It's supposed to be raining today, so not that sunny here, but yeah, so about myself, I grew up in India. I did my med school actually from the same place Dr. Vijani did his med school. I always knew that I wanted to do psychiatry, and coming here in US, I did my residency here. I did go through a lot of residency applications myself, and then of course when I graduated, I joined University of Pittsburgh, and that's where the whole GME role and the being an attending and reviewing all sorts of applications for psychiatry applicant most of the time, which some of you are probably planning because it seems like it's one of the field now that it's going pretty much unmatched because of several reasons. What the Dr. Gogu was saying about it's not just about your scores. Your personal statements is looked at, people look at it. What do you mean? And specifically, if you're planning to apply for psychiatry, you got to be very, very, very careful because many times we tend to use the same personal statement for multiple fields, and it's very, very well reflected. And guys, you should not forget, you are sending this application to a psychiatry program. Psychiatrists, this is what we do day in and day out. So you have to be very, very careful because it's really what we do. It's not like we are FBI or we are going after you or so-called CBI in India. What we are trying to see is this person best fit for our program or not? Okay. Right now, my position, I am a private practitioner. I also work with a group of psychiatrists, but at the same time, I am a faculty at a local medical school here. It's California North State University. So when Dr. Vijani asked me about this, I'm like, maybe can I put some of the personal statements up here that has been given to me by the medical students? So I have a lot of medical students rotating with me right now. And so they send me these personal statements. So I'm happy to join I'm happy to contribute. And it's just you guys are lucky because I just think of my days. I did not have any of this platform. So use it, and I'm more than happy to contribute what I know.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀. I'm one of the critical care physician who's been practicing here since 2012 as a physician. I work with Dr. Vijani. In fact, we both trained together. He was a resident when I was a fellow. And thank you for the opportunity to be part of you. The reason I am interested in doing this is because when I applied for residency, I did not have a good mentor. And in fact, I did not match the first time. A lot of you probably could relate to me. My scores are, if I remember correctly, 81 in step 1 and 85 in step 2. I made it up in step 3. I got like 92 or 95 in step 3, but I did not find a good mentor, so that's why I couldn't match the first time as well. That's why I want to give back to the community, and then a lot of you guys might be struggling, or some of you might be applying the second time as well. So happy to share whatever information I have or whatever I learned from my experiences.
Now, before we dive into personal statement dissection, let's understand from our panelist the role of personal statement in ERAS application.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know this September, October, November is rolling around pretty soon, and I'll have to be reviewing personal statements. And I think the one thing you guys have to understand is there's thousands of applications that are going to every program in the country. And me as a reviewer, it's not like I have 5 to 10 minutes to read each personal statement in depth and really, look at it. So a lot of what, I do is I really skim through it. I really look at your first paragraph, your last paragraph, kind of skim through the middle. And what I really want to see in a personal statement is I really don't need to see your ERAS application all over again in your personal statement. I don't need to know where you went to medical school. I really don't need to know, that you did X, Y, and Z research and you've published, 50 publications that with so-and-so mentor. I already know that, when I look at your ERAS application. I think your personal statement really should be about you, what your values are, why did you choose a certain specialty, what really brought you into medicine, and really kind of showcase your personality. And I think nowadays, I think you have to be even more careful with personal statements because now, we have the advent of artificial intelligence. And if you get your personal statement written by AI and we catch you writing it via AI, you're kind of sunk. You're probably not going to match at that program, nonetheless, any other program. So I think it really needs to be in your original words. And there's many ways you can really tell. If you're using an agency, for example, to write your entire personal statement and it's not authentically yourself, I can just look at your impactful experience on your ERAS application, compare your writing style on that, and look at your personal statement. And if they're written very differently, it tells me something about you. It's either, you didn't care about your personal statement or your impactful experience, or you really didn't write it to begin with. And so I think those are things that is something to really keep in mind. And lastly, when I really skim through your application and skim through your personal statement, and I really get a sense to really getting to know you, as now more of ERAS is very holistic in nature, as step 1 scores are now pass fail. So a lot of applications, and really what the AMC has really wanted is really a very holistic individual. And that personal statement really allows you to show that holistic side about yourself. Because I really want to get to know your personality and kind of what you're about. And subsequently, you'll be surprised is when you do get interviews, at least for me, when I do talk to applicants on their interviews, is I really go back and reference their personal statement and I ask questions straight up from their personal statement. And you would be shocked how many times, an applicant stumped because they didn't really understand their own personal statement very well. And at the end of the day, that's going to cost them an opportunity to match. And so those are some of the things to keep in mind and really understand why the personal statement is important. It's not something to overlook. It's really an opportunity to showcase yourself, and make sure you take advantage of it.
Okay, yeah. What resonated with me was about the holistic nature of a personal statement. So because we have been through so many personal statements and the eras, first, we are really looking for candidates who are confident. They know who they are, and they also know how to present who they are and the way they are presenting themselves. So I usually like the personal statement in the form of, I say, as if you are telling a story. You're telling a story that is personalized, but also very tailored to like 3 or 4 paragraphs where you can start talking about yourself. You have to tell a story. What I really focus on is I need to look in the personal state. And please kind of give me guys feedback, because I might be tailoring more towards psychiatry candidates, because I do see a lot of psychiatry, but I think the personal statement is kind of generic. When I said about when you tailor it towards telling your story, I want to know what motivated this candidate to apply to this field and also to a program. When I say what motivated, I am really looking for words, intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Are you intrinsically motivated? Like, was there something that happened in the family? Was there something around you, which a lot of you put it out there? What really shook you to the core that you even decided to get to the med school and decided to apply for this field? Extrinsic motivation, don't shy away from talking about what really motivated you outside, like how you can make a difference in this field of medicine or in the field of science. So those are the few things I look for in personal statement. And if you use an AI, it will tell me very clearly if those words are being used. So touching on the AI part, that's a big problem. But remember, there are 5 or 10 or 20 students using AI. So there will be repetition in the personal statement if all of you start using AI. Not the repetition of the word, but that will be a pattern. One key other important thing which I want to clarify, and I would love to get other feedbacks from the other panelists, is in the personal statement, I believe you really need to focus on you and how you are going to be good for the program. So you emphasize on why would they choose you? Why would you be a good fit for them? And I think last, which I look for is in the last few paragraphs, is like, really, if you're choosing this field, are you just choosing it to get it in the residency? Or is there a long-term, do you have a plan? Like, what would you want to make a change in the world or in your own life? Or what is your long-term plan looks like if you get into this program, and how you can take the program knowledge further? And if you can include a little bit of that. So in all, it has to be a story, it has to flow, it has to be personalized, and it has to be very authentic to who you are. Last, before I end, I told you about, so I remember I had got an interview at Mayo Clinic. In my personalized statement, I mentioned that, so I have in my family, there is some extended family who has bipolar disorder. You know how in India, any mental health crisis is not talked about and all that. So I did mention about that in the personal statement, that how I struggled with some family members. And then I asked the family, I became a physician, and it just touched me and all of that, right? My whole interview at Mayo Clinic went on to talking about familial inheritance of bipolar disorder, bipolar condition. What do I know about it? And it just, all they talked about was the family history, technically, about how is it, what's your experience, and some of the attending really kind of honed on it, talking about how do I feel? Am I ready to be so I do think in my personal statement, and I'm gonna accept it, I might have crossed that boundary where you personalize it, but maybe you do want to still have boundaries when you personalize your personal statement. Okay, so this is where, when Dr. Gogu said, it resonated with me, that when you mention about your stuff in the personal statement, you don't know. Your whole interview might just go on the 1 or 2 topics that you have mentioned, because that really reflects why you are coming in this field, and it might be important to that program. So yeah, I'll end there, but we'll get more feedbacks and kind of go back and forth on these, some of the few topics that I've touched.
Good afternoon, everyone again. So the way I look at the personal statement is it's another layer in your application, and it can hurt you or it can help you. Since most of you came from the LinkedIn to this Zoom meeting, let's put it in a LinkedIn analogy. So when you go through a lot of posts on LinkedIn, and then you barely scroll through like for 5 seconds, and if something doesn't catch your eye, or if something doesn't interest you, you won't even read the entire post. You would skip through. Let's say something caught your fancy, and then you want to read the post. So the first 2 lines is what attracted you to that LinkedIn post. Similarly, in a personal statement, the first 2 lines or first paragraph is what the reader will look for. If he doesn't have any interest in that personal statement, or if you did not raise enough curiosity in that first few lines, the reader will trash your application or probably skip your application and move on to the next one. Remember, they have to read thousands of personal statements probably in a week's time. So they only have few minutes per application or per personal statement. So it's your job to catch their attention in the first few lines, similar to LinkedIn post. So let's say you got excited about a LinkedIn post. The first few lines, you looked into the complete post. Now you got excited. Now you want to know more about the LinkedIn author, right? So it's the same thing. First paragraph, you excited the reader, and then now they start looking into details further into the personal statement. Now you look to the entire LinkedIn post, and then now you are more curious to know about the author. So now you go to his profile and start reading more of his post. So now starting with 2 lines, and then the author has got you to read the entire post, and the author has got you to read more of his post. Now, once you read few of his posts or entire post, now you're impressed with that author, then you will start to follow him. Same thing in residency interview process as well. So if you can get them to read your first paragraph and make it an interesting personal statement, they will read the entire personal statement to a point where instead of following you, they might offer you an interview so they can get to know more about you. And like Dr. Gogu mentioned and Dr. Rai mentioned, personal statement is all about you as a person. It's not a rehash of your CV or what you have achieved or what's your personal life circumstances are. It's just to know you as a person. They want to see whether you will be a good teammate to their program, or they want to see if you can bring some reputation to their program. Again, it's just not a rehash of the CV. They want to know you as a person. So they want to establish a human connection, and they want to know if it's even worth their time to interview you through your personal statement.
I want all the students who have joined us to rank that personal statement out of 10. Put it down in the chat box, your scoring.
So I'm going to pick on 2 people that had, a high rating and 2 people that had a low rating. And I want to see your perspective on why did you give such a rating? I'm just going to scroll through the chat here, and I'll just pick on people. Let me ask Meena Kumari, who gave it a 10 out of 10. I'd like to know your perspective on why you would rate this 10 out of 10.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you so much for all of your time and letting us know on how to write the personal statement. Really appreciate all your effort. So I felt, as Dr. Nandiala said, going through the first paragraph, first few lines, I felt like I wanted to read the whole thing. And later on, I felt the flow is really good, like as if I'm reading a story. And I think I felt like very good, good English and all that vocabulary. So I really felt it's good, and it said about the personality of the person. So that's what I felt.
Okay, fantastic. Let me pick on someone that gave it, let's say, not a good, rating. I think an individual named 𝗤𝗄𝗄𝗺 gave it a 4 out of 10. I'd like to know your perspective on why did you say it's a 4 out of 10?
Hey, I hope all of you are doing good. So, my perspective about giving a rating of 4, I felt it pretty generic. Like everyone, uh, the person stated just one patient, and that patient had a significant impact in his medical education, which I would disagree. Like, we come across many patients day in and day out, and then he didn't give a proper explanation as to why residency in United States compared to residency in India. And then the English in the personal statement seems to be AI generated for me rather than what as an individual we can write. And then, yeah, even the last paragraph, I thought the writer could make a better personal statement compared to what it is written over here. Yep, that's my stand.
Cool. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting to see two perspectives, and I'll ask one last person. I'll ask someone that is in between, not a 10 out of 10, and the worst rating someone gave. A couple people gave a 4 out of 10, so I'm going to pick someone that gave a 7 out of 10. I'm going to ask, let me see, did anyone give a 7? I'm going to ask 𝗤𝗄𝗄𝗺 𝗪𝗂 why she gave a 7 out of 10.
Hello everyone. This is 𝗪𝗂𝗄𝗺. Thanks, Dr. Gogu, for calling on me for my opinion. I did write the strengths and weaknesses that stood out for me, but I do agree with Dr. Meena Kumari. It seems like the story has a natural flow, and it unravels from the decision to get into medicine, his experiences in medical school, his experiences in the US, and his decision to pursue internal medicine in the US. So I think that the flow is really nice. There were grammatical errors, and it feels like the trait of empathy and communication, it is being repeated in every paragraph. I guess it is a trait that the writer wanted to highlight for sure. But it feels like when you're given 500 words to explain your entire personality, you should touch on more characteristics. And so I think the personal statement is good to begin with, but there is work that can be done on it. And there are other parts of his personality that can be highlighted in the personal statement.
Awesome. No, fantastic. It's great feedback. So then I want to ask some of the panelists. I want to hear, what their thoughts are. Obviously, I have my own opinions. But I'll start first with Dr. Nandyala, because unfortunately, he's been last on the panelists. And I want to give him the first opportunity to share his perspective on what he thinks about this personal statement.
All right, so you put me on the spot, huh?
Well, you've always been last. I want to put you first now.
So, so this personal statement, I probably would not have made it past 2 paragraphs if not for this hour-long session. If I am the program director, probably I would have not read the entire statement after I got to 2 paragraphs. There are a lot of glaring errors that I can see, but just be mindful that when we survey like 50 people or 60 people have different opinion on the same personal statement. So similarly, different program directors may see this from a different mindset or different perspectives, and they might actually give the same ranking ranging from 1 to 10. Like some people might say, like, this is trash, and then they might discard the application. Some program directors might give 10 because they might have connected with this application. But I'll say what I think this could be improved on. But first of all, I want all the participants to put yourself in this applicant's shoes, and then just for a second, assume you are the one writing this personal statement, and I'm going to be absolutely very critical. So take that with take my criticism very personally and show all your anger on revising your personal statements and make it better. So throughout the personal statement, I see a lot of personal qualities like communication skills, empathy, discipline, hard work, but I don't see anywhere to prove those facts. You are just saying I am hardworking, I communicate better, I am full of empathy, but how do I know? Like everybody will say the same thing, right? Nobody will come and say I won't work harder, I don't have good communication skills. And programs are assuming all these qualities are given. They are not looking for somebody who don't have these qualities. They are not willing to teach these qualities during residency, right? So they all assume that you come with these qualities. So saying that I have these qualities will not give you an edge other than boring them, hearing the same thing one after another. For example, I'll give you my own classic example. When I went to my fellowship interview, the program director asked me, like, what's your eventual goals after fellowship? So I told him that I want to be the best clinician who came out of your program ever. And he said, I'm glad you said that. And I asked him why, because he said, everybody who comes to the interview, they all told me that I will publish 50 papers for you or 20 papers for you, and they end up publishing 2 papers or 3 papers. So again, like here, and then my background proves that I'm not interested in research because I have no publications, and then whatever my letter recommendations letter writers, they all wrote mostly on my clinical skills. So whatever I'm saying backs my recommendations as well. So in this entire statement, I do not see something to attest to these qualities. The first paragraph itself was very boring for me. I felt like I'm reading more about his father than himself. The first 2 lines is all about his father. And if I am the program director, I want to know more about his father than him, because like his father's story seems more fascinating to me than his story in the first paragraph. And then there's a lot of lines where it says, I'm drawn to internal medicine because it requires thorough understanding of patient symptoms and disease course. So let's replace that internal medicine with like 2 of our other panelists. Like one is family medicine, one is psychiatry. So let's replace that internal medicine with family medicine. Same thing applies. Everything fits together. It requires a thorough understanding of patient symptoms and disease course. Let's replace that internal medicine with psychiatry. Same thing applies. So it doesn't tell me exactly why you're drawn to internal medicine. Every specialty needs to have understanding of the patients and disease course, and every specialty needs a cohesive team in both urban and suburban settings. Every specialty needs a collaboration between different specialties. Every specialty needs a good communication skill. So I still don't get how he is drawn to internal medicine, or at least he did not convey that message to me clearly, why he is drawn only to internal medicine rather than other specialties. And whenever I hear just one particular incident changing their opinion or drawing them to one particular specialty, that seems a little hard to believe. Like, unless you happen to be in Wuhan and then you are the first person to see a COVID, that's a life-changing experience, then that seems more convincing. But a tuberculosis changing your mindset or convincing you to pursue medicine or pursue internal medicine seems a little more dramatic. And then I see a lot of drama in the personal statement, like arts, values, sacrifices. Like, to me, it feels like he's more dramatic than like being a good team player. I'll stop here. I can fill in later, but I like to hear the other panelist opinion as well.
No, that was fantastic feedback, Dr. Nandiala. I think you hit on a lot of points there. I'm going to give the mic to Dr. Rai, and I want to see what his perspective is.
Okay. So yeah, I think Dr. Nandiala went kind of deep in there. I will resonate something that everybody here, I want to let you guys know that I mean, whatever we say, it's always personal statement. It's such, there could be so many shades of opinions that people will have about personal statement. My opinion might be a little bit biased coming from psychiatry background, but really personal statement fits, it fits all when it's written well, because we've been saying again and again, it's about you. It's about your interest in a program. It's about why you are a better fit for a certain program. Because see, guys, if you want to fit something, like if you've done the jigsaw puzzles and stuff, how you are shaped and how the other the program is shaped, you will only fit if you are a match, right? So you're trying to tell them who you are, and then they are trying to figure out, are we gonna able to cater to what this person is like, or his personality or her personality is, right? Okay, in this, coming back to this personal statement, to me, I was just lost. I was like, okay, can you talk? Okay, so like I said before, it has to flow. There has to be a story. There has to be a I did not see a clear distinction. So you talk about so the first of all, the first line, I was like, is this person going to do a YouTube channel or something? Sacrifice, selflessness, compassion, and so it just like, I also got lost in the first paragraph because it was so vague. It was very much like talking about these principles and ethics and values, as I felt like he's applying for maybe writing a speech for some like political position. You have to be very humble when you are writing, and not just humble, it has to be true. I did not feel, and I'm going to give just overview. I don't want to pick on the paragraphs. I did not feel that this is a true story. One line I would say is, after a reading, and I tell this to my students all the time, after reading a personal statement, I want to meet you. Can you tell me a story that when I walk away from reading like even once I have to get through it, what Dr. Nandiala said, I have to first get through the whole thing. So this means that one first paragraph ties me into the second one. If you look, is this person, he talks all about his or her father, and then it goes into this whole thing about India, and again, TB and all that, which I don't know how many TB cases are here and how many, what are people exposed to. And then he jumps into, so I did not see a thread connecting. So if there was a thread connecting from one to another, even if you want to tell a story that you are interested in drama or dramatics, it has to connect, it has to flow, it has to be in the context. By the time I got to the end, I feel like this person told me that he's good, he's satisfied, he kept saying the terms that he's a team player, but like Dr. Nanda said, the example, and I was like, okay, I don't think I need to meet you. I don't think I feel like, because there's so you have to give a superficial view of who you are, but you have to leave certain question marks that you do have some certain depth that the program would want to know from you, because you shared something, an instance, a couple of instances in your life that I would want to know that, wow, this really deeply touched him. Like a father being a doctor, and it seems like you're telling me you came from privilege. But I'm not saying that you don't have to share it, but the way you share it has to be very humble. It has to be very down to earth, and it also has to show how you connected to that. So in general, I just didn't connect. I didn't think there is a flow. I don't think there is a story. Maybe there is like someone said, AI use these big heavy words. It just takes me away when I see these words. So these words glare at me, and I'm like, okay, it's an agency, it's AI, it's something that has helped. So yeah, I was not very impressed. I don't think I would move forward with this one, which says that there is room for improvement.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic feedback to hear back. So I'm going to give my perspective next, and then I'll let Dr. Vijani go last. So you have to look at it from my perspective, and I review these personal statements. I review applications. So I'm doing this during my lunch hour. So I have 1 hour, and I typically go through many applications during my lunch hour. So this is what I'm quickly looking at, just like I'm just telling you how it is. First thing is I'm looking at the first paragraph. Okay, I see a couple words here, and then I'm going through there. I see that he's a son of a physician. You know, it seems like his father was in the army. Okay, great. I'm going through it quickly. I'm going to the bottom. I always look at the last paragraph. He's like, I penned down this personal statement. I'm kind of like, okay, well, no shit. This is a personal statement. You know, we know it is. You don't need to tell me it's a personal statement, but he did that. And then he talks about theater and like what it taught me. And I'm like, oh, interesting. That's a little bit of perspective on kind of what you do and what's your personality like. So then I'm trying to go back, you know, I'm like, okay, he's talks about theater. I'm interested to know about how theater and medicine really intertwine together. So then I try to go back up, and I'm trying to go read the second paragraph, and I'm trying to figure out, where does he talk about theater? I don't really see it. I don't see it in the third, where he really, you know, talks about it again. I don't really see it in the fourth paragraph. And so I've kind of lost my interest right off the bat. So I'm now going to the next application. That's literally how it goes with people that review personal statements. Then I'll go to the next step. I'll go even further. That let's say I liked this personal statement for whatever means it is. Let's say I have to ask this interviewer questions about his personal statement or his personality. I don't really have much to go off of. You know, I can talk about the one patient he saw that had hepatic encephalopathy. I can talk about the one patient he had that I think he said latent TB or non-compliant to TB. I can ask him about what would it like, you know, growing up in a household where he had a physician in the house and really came from some level of privilege. It seemed like I really could ask him about theater and kind of how did that shape him. But overall, I don't have a lot of questions I can ask him or really talk to him about. And then that really sets the tone for how your interview is going to go, at least with me, for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And so this individual would probably struggle if I, one, you know, looked over their personal statement, and then two, really asked them questions after reviewing their personal statement. So I think this one it's kind of scattered. I think it could have had a better story. I think what he could have done a lot better is really intertwine theater at the very start, because I think it would have kind of captured my audience. Because you got to realize, I have 2 minutes and I'm looking through this personal statement. You got to really captivate me very quickly. And people are captivated. Just think about yourselves when you're reading, whether you read the New York Times, the Washington Post, or you read articles or books, you're really captivated by the first couple lines that are there. And are they interesting? And in this one, he starts with 4 words, and it's just, you're not going to captivate an audience that way. And so I wouldn't really think of this very highly. But like I said, this is my perspective. There could be another reviewer that thinks, oh my God, this is the best personal statement ever, and give him a 10 out of 10. So I think you really have to take it with a grain of salt. But what I want to provide you guys is really perspective in how a reviewer that's on a faculty at a program really looks at these personal statements. And that's kind of the perspective I'm trying to share to you guys. And the next person I'll let speak on this is Dr. 𝗤𝗀𝗀𝗀.
So let's start. I always dissect the personal statement sentence by sentence. So it may take some time. So let's start with the first one. The sacrifice, selflessness, compassion, and resilience. These are not buzzwords, but values to live by. And as the son of a physician serving the XYZ country army, I was raised with these. You know what? I'm so sorry, but without any example, these are still buzzwords for me. Now, coming back, I grew up witnessing his unwavering devotion to patient care in underserved areas of the country, which sparked a calling within me to serve humanity. Hold on. It's exactly like Houston, I have a problem. Your dad is a patriot. He worked for the army. He's serving them. Yeah, and you are leaving your beloved country? Doesn't make sense. So that means you are showcasing your dad's characteristics, and you are seeing him as your ideal, but actually not. you're lying. Through these values and my academic work, I was accepted into one of the most prestigious medical schools in the country, and I embarked upon becoming what I envisioned years ago, a dedicated physician with an astute clinical skills who imbibe the gentle mix of humanity, arts, and science. Now, there are two problems here. There is no specificity regarding the details of the academic journey of the student or any particular experience that have shaped him towards medicine. Similarly, using a phrase to describe an ideal physician with no details about it, what it means to you, make no sense to me. Now, coming back to the personal statement, the rigors of medical training in my country involve deep academic learning, however, aligning with my goals of touching upon the humanity that is integral to the practice of medicine. I have led a long-standing passion for dramatics. I drew on several acting experiences during medical school, which helped me better understand human emotions. Hold on. The student did not provide any details to explain deep academic learning or any specific acting experience. One, he just talked about touching upon the humanity and understanding human emotions, but acting is more complex than that. Just by saying that acting experience helped the student to understand human emotion is overtly simplistic. He failed to establish a clear connection between academic pursuits and acting experiences, as beautifully said by Dr. Gogu, that he wanted to look into what was it dramatics, what he did, no connection at all, no, nothing. Then getting back to the personal statement, communicating with empathy comes naturally to me, and I derive immense satisfaction in helping patients understand their diagnosis to address their concerns better. I distinctly remember addressing a non-compliant tuberculosis patient's concern, made him understand the diagnosis and adversities of non-compliance, significantly improving his adherence in subsequent visits. Later, during my involvement in a research project focused on women of underserved population, I utilized my acting and writing skills in organizing street plays to educate them on preventable diseases. Again, there is no clear connection between students' acting and writing skills and their ability to communicate effectively with the patient. Why? Because it's unclear how these skills have helped him to gain that perspective. On top of it, I feel that the tone of this paragraph is more or less very self-congratulatory, focusing on your own accomplishments rather than what is your impact, what is the impact of your work actually on the patient care. So that is a big issue here. Now, the next sentence is audiences' inquiries on screenings and vaccinations were our accolades, and it reinforced my belief on the importance of effective communication for improving patient care. Now, this example literally lacks depth. There is no detail about the challenges faced and the strategies used to address patients' concern. Effective communication does not just mean talking. It means active listening, empathy, and ability to tailor your message based on patients' education level. As a transition from one country to another, I can think of few other skills that will help me more. I am drawn to internal medicine because it requires thorough understanding of the patient's symptoms and disease course. Every one of you say the same thing. Cobweb of symptoms, we decipher the diagnosis, why kidney is failing, why heart is failing. Surgeons do the same thing. Family medicine does the same thing. Psychiatry does the same thing. We are not different. Unraveling medical mysteries while seeing patients was always an invaluable learning experience, but I developed an insatiable passion for this field through the heartfelt connections with my patients. What truly brings me joy is connecting with patients on a deeper level, following them through their stay and being a part of their story. Reminiscing about the time I spent caring of a hepatic encephalopathy patient, I remember how challenging it was to insert feeding tubes and IV lines in the agitated patient, but a week later, watching her have food without the tube with her children by her side stirred unexplained emotions of joy within me. Standing beside family during those moments made me realize my small role in caring for her had greatly impacted her children's life. Now, I agree with one of the participant, if I remember correctly, Dr. Reddy. He also pointed out the same thing. One patient experience change your life? No. The life of a doctor is more like a goldsmith. There are small, low intensity impressions on your soul. You learn empathy over time. You learn to feel the pain of a patient over time. There is nothing a blacksmith approach that one hit and you bend. No. It taught me the significance of empathetic and compassionate care, the gratifying experience of patient care, the challenges of heavy workload and rapid yet intricate decision making makes us internal medicine a natural choice for me. That's exactly for IR. That's exactly for ER. That's same for any other specialty of medicine. So, okay. Now, while emotions are important, clinical skills and knowledge are more critical for internal medicine. But you have to showcase that you also have a clinical skill and knowledge too. And also, this paragraph also lacks specificities such as any specific technique that was used in this patient. Other than that the patient was sick, there is no description of what you have done. Then after that, my desire to learn about healthcare advancements in internal medicine was fulfilled through several clinical rotations in the United States. Once again, the paragraph lacks depth. It only provides a general overview of the experience in clinical rotation without any specific examples or details to showcase learning and growth. Let me be very clear to you guys. As an IMG, I'm a proud IMG. And the reason behind that is, yes, I learned my medicine from India and I cracked USMLE, and I was able to get spot in one of the best hospitals in US. But it was India that trained me by my clinical examination for my clinical knowledge so that I can beat the rest. So please do not degrade your own homeland. India is your motherland, or Pakistan or Bangladesh or Nepal or whichever country you are from. Do not disrespect just to come to US. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, the experience of being a part of a cohesive teams in both urban and suburban setting was highly appealing. Observing a seamless collaboration between multiple disciplines to contribute to a patient well-being helped me appreciate the role of multidisciplinary care and seal the decision for me to pursue my PG training in United States. All right, don't we have multidisciplinary in India? We have surgeons, doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists. You never saw multidisciplinary in India? Just because we have a tag in US, everything becomes fancy. Now, the description of this multidisciplinary was overtly simplistic. That's what I feel, because not everything in multidisciplinary team seem appealing, because there is always a potential for conflicts due to ego. So yes, the more people you have, the more chances of misunderstanding. So just only focusing on the positive aspect and negating the negative aspect, tell me this is nothing but a bootlicking. That's it. Tone is extremely positive, which overshadow any potential challenge which you may see working in US. I penned down this personal statement with a heart full of compassion and unyielding determination and eagerness to embrace the responsibilities of residency. Again, tone is extremely sentimental, focusing on emotions rather than a concrete skills or experiences. How you are ready? How? Then theater taught me the art of improvisation and adaptability and prepared me to adapt, and effectively function in the fast-changing healthcare system environment. Here, the student completely failed to provide any specific examples, which Dr. Gogu was talking about, that how theater skills can be applied in the medical setting. Now, the opportunity to get trained under expert physicians of your residency program would help me achieve my pursuit of caring for people with empathy and sincerity. This is nearly a conclusion of a personal statement, and I have not come across any compelling examples of empathy and sincerity in the whole personal statement. Medicine required perseverance and sacrifices, and reflecting upon my journey, I affirm that I had the honor of learning these values, and I am committed to upholding them in the future. Again, statement concerning perseverance and sacrifice is vague, does not offer any insight into students' character or what motivates them. My panelists are amazing. They are nice, but I will give this personal statement 3 out of 10, 1 for English, 1 for attempt, and 1 for not killing his grandparents as a source of motivation for medicine. I think I will rest my case here.
Okay, that's pretty funny on that last element on not killing your grandparent, but I actually sadly have seen that tremendously. I think on this personal statement, you know, I'd probably give it a 4 or 5 out of 10, to be quite frank with you. But the problem is a 4 or 5 out of 10 is not going to distinguish you guys from the thousands of applications that we unfortunately see. So you really need to get to a 10 out of 10 you want to put forth your best effort. You want to give yourself the best opportunity to match. And so I think, unfortunately, with this candidate, I don't think, if I was reviewing it, I don't think he would have gone, unfortunately, very far. The one thing I also, I wanted to comment on it. I don't think, any of us really talked about this. I do sometimes see personal statements that are tailored for just that singular program only. So at the very end, a lot of times I read personal statements and I see they want to go to Mayo Clinic's internal medicine program. And it's like very verbalized there. And I see it here at DHR Health. Like, I really want to attend DHR Health's, internal. And I don't think, at least for me, I don't feel like that does you any good. I think there's probably more risk in that happening, because I sure as hell know that you're not applying to just one program. You're applying to every program out there. And so I don't think that gives you any singular advantage. And I really wanted to preface and kind of comment on that. I will say, however, that I have seen other applicants, that have put multiple personal statements out there that are targeting, geographic locations. I've seen some that, have put they're interested in a particular, subspecialty of family medicine. But if we don't offer that subspecialty of family medicine, like geriatrics, if we don't have a geriatrics fellowship or a palliative care fellowship, and your personal statement is talking about you're interested in family medicine and you wish to pursue a geriatrics or palliative care fellowship after that, I don't know if we're the best fit for you, because we might not offer you that experience or have that fellowship in mind. And so some of you guys, I'll give you an example. If you're interested in, cardiology, and you put, I'm interested in IM, you put some type of, cardiology experience, and you really state, like, I'd like to pursue a cardiology fellowship after, it's good for you. But I think the problem with doing something like that is you risk alienating a lot of programs doing that. So you really need to write your personal statement in a way that kind of showcases your personality, intertwines it with your experiences in life, but also make it where it's well versed, where everyone can like you. And so I think that's one particular element of feedback I wanted to provide as we close out today's session. And I'll go next to Dr. Rai.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if I have to close it out and then say this is really common sense. You are applying for a field, which is, what do we call it? In India or in US, we practice evidence-based medicine. If you are not providing evidence in your personal statement, like what, Dr. 𝗤𝗍𝗍 was mentioning about the whole thing with the father, and the father served the army in the country, and then you want to come to US. So just focus it in a way that, just be focused, be realistic, be focused, be true to what you are saying. And if you say, I have great bedside manners and I'm compassionate, share this example that you really did share a bedside manner and you had an experience where somebody commented or complimented and something you learned from it. So just the closing remark, I would say, be true to what you write. What you write has to be true to you. And then you will come along as very confident. You don't have to write too much. Also, I think I missed if someone said or not, please do not exceed. I feel personally, that's my opinion, do not exceed at least 1 page. Do not go on 2 or 3 pages of personal statement. So that's what I would say in the closing, but I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna have a lot of learning to do with Dr. 𝗤𝗍𝗍, and because it's, again, we are doing a 1.5 hour session, but to make something concise, it takes a lot of work, effort, repeated attempts to keep talking and going it, and then putting it all out, doing the word vomit. It's easy. So it's a process. Don't get disheartened. And I'm sure, I think you guys will take away all the points that we all shared.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Rai. We'll want to hear Dr. Nandiala's closing statements, and then I'll hand it off to Dr. Vijani.
So I just want you all to take from this meeting, basically, there will always be some room for improvement. I wouldn't give him any score, like just remember that you are all competing with people who probably will get 10 out of 10 on their personal statement, and there are many of them. So it doesn't matter whether this person gets 9 out of 10, like he still wouldn't make it to the interview. So anything less than 10 out of 10, it doesn't matter at all. As a side note, like the one thing that struck me was like the same personal statement this person wrote, like if it was a thank you letter to one of his attendings who taught him medicine or who taught him throughout his medical school, this would have been an excellent letter, but it just doesn't serve what you're applying for. So just be mindful of who your audience is, or target audience, in which case the program directors and assistant program directors, and then be mindful of what they will be looking for. This entire letter seems like he sounded like he's a finished product. There's nothing he needs other than a residency diploma. So the programs are not looking for people who are full of themselves and then who feels that they have already figured out everything. They want to see people who are trainable and who will listen to them and get the work done.
Yeah, those are really good statements, Dr. Nandiala. I think we obviously want to see someone that can show personal growth. We don't want to see someone that thinks they're a finished product. I don't think that ever looks good, because then we know we're dealing probably with a difficult individual in the program. But lastly, I'll end with Dr. Vijani, and we'll end this session.
Keep learning, keep gaining wisdom, and enhancing your integrity. These are the essential tools to become successful in life. वो जो हंस रहे हैं मुझ पे मेरी नाकामियों पर, ताने कस रहे हैं मेरी नादानियों पर, काम कर रहा हूं मैं अपनी खामियों पर, क्योंकि एक दिन तालियां बजाएंगे यही लोग मेरी कहानियों पर. Good luck, everyone. Thank you.